speaking.
How are you, sir?
It's all different up to
All right.
that point. I just added to it, okay?
It
And I
was.
still
We
didn't
had a
do the
really
thing. It threw
good
me off
time,
'cause
good
I set up
turnout.
my changes last week
With
and didn't
50,
change it last
56
week, so
vendors that day.
My email,
Yes.
I still
50,
don't have my
56.
personal email because,
Patty.
Cody was gonna help me put the app on.
Yes.
Because,
It-
dude, I
but,
run like 3 different emails already. I'll do my fourth.
Yeah, well, and like,
As long as I have an app,
and then
and
of
I
course,
get
then
the
you had like
notifications,
4 or
I'll be
5
fine
groups of
until I do that.
musicians.
Hey,
I mean,
Patty,
it
did you
was-
update
it
your
was
email
excellent.
too
Did I update?
with this? The email, you didn't include this, letter you gave us in your email?
Yeah, I
So
said that.
did you did you update it in your new email?
I didn't email it to you because I didn't finish it until like 3:30 this evening.
Oh, okay. So
That's
that's
fine.
not
Yes.
on, that's not on.
Yeah, it's on the
We are.
agenda.
I know,
Yeah,
but
we
it's not
are.
on the
We are.
email.
No, no, sir. That's
Because
why I
when I
gave you.
refer to my email, I
That
want it
is,
to be the same as
do you want to do a
this.
site again?
That's why I gave you a hard copy.
Oh, that's
I figured you
Christmas.
were gonna go
Well, I'm
into
in charge of
executive
Christmas.
session
You ought to do a site
prior
again.
to that.
Probably.
So that's why I gave you a hard copy.
Okay. But my question is, it hasn't been updated on the internet.
No, not
I'm try-
everything.
I'm
Not
trying-
everything, because like I said, I didn't finish till 3:30 and I didn't figure.
Trying to think of when that is. I can tell you in a
So I
second.
wanted to make it.
Okay.
And with, okay, Sherry West, she's gonna get here as soon as she can get here, but she, isn't finished till 5:45, so we may have to like, when she gets here, so you can.
Well, we can work
Yeah.
her in.
And then Clay is not here tonight, he's sick. So, sorry.
Library funding, is that
Library
him?
funding will have to be tabled, yeah.
Okay.
And
October
then-
22nd
And
is
I
trick or
don't know
treat.
what,
22nd.
whether you want to do a special
October-
meeting
October
for that,
22nd.
like on the 30th for the financials.
Yeah, either or. We just call it both. Yeah, however
We can set
it
it,
works.
You know, for the 30th, or the 29th, or whatever, just to discuss the FY '22 financial statements prior to being submitted to the state.
Okay.
So when do those have to be submitted?
I think the 30th.
So we're up against it again like we were last time.
Yeah, I mean, he has it almost completely finished, but he's sick. I mean, he was gonna try to make it today, but he's not.
When will we get a copy of this? You don't have any idea?
I don't know. Mm-mm. He was working on it Friday, he worked until quitting time. I don't know.
Okay.
I asked him if he could submit an extension, but I haven't heard back from him. So, I mean, it's informational, so. But the big thing is the library funding that he's not gonna be here to present.
Okay.
Okay? Lisa, you don't give this to Katie. She's coming.
She left it at Gilmore. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I know.
This one we need an executive session for sure. I know, and with the others, we don't.
Jason does a good job emceeing out there.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, thank
Make it
you.
exciting.
Oh, glad to do it. Thank you, sir, thank
Only you can make
you.
it exciting.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Now, next time I'd like to hear a little music too, you know.
Right, I understand, I'll see what I can do.
I'll bring the DJ booth.
Yeah,
back out
man, we
next-
can do
next-
that.
next parade.
Good call.
Little soundboard, you know.
Hey, Brett,
Yes, sir.
what's your phone number?
304.
304.
678 9982.
I got everybody else. I was gonna call you this week about something I can't remember what. I saw you up the ball
I was
game.
gonna say, saw you at the game talking to Nancy.
Yeah, that got kinda wild, didn't
Yeah,
it? For a little leg.
they always do. They get wilder than all the others.
Okay, I think it's time to call this meeting to order. Let's stand and, I'll ask Cody, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, do we have delegations? Maya?
Do I have to talk into the mic or does it matter?
You can pull it down,
It'll
too.
pick you up, I'd say.
Okay. A few weeks ago, at the last board meeting, my mom subbed in for me while I was at a golf match. I wrote my letter in response to student concern, not only my own. After that incident, at the next student council meeting, Mr. Putnam addressed the entire student council with a copy of my letter in hand. He belittled me and demeaned me in front of my peers, friends, and other advisors. At a very silent meeting, I soon after texted my mom with the words, "I feel as if I have been run over and trampled on." He explained that I did not come to him, so I was wrong for doing that. And next, I did not come to the superintendent. I missed a few steps in how things should be done, and that was wrong of me, in front of 37 members of our student council. If a school is run as an autocracy, how must they be successful? Our government is run as a democracy because diverse input allows all needs to be met and opinions to be heard. At Gilmer County High School, students are discouraged to use their voice. When a student has something to say, his or her voice is hushed and their values silenced. When I stood up for structure and the Constitution, I was humiliated in front of 37 members of our student council. In the next meeting, the Constitution was nullified. So now, with the nullified Constitution, the student council ceases to exist. Because the council dissolved its constitution, we have no officers, no student government, and most importantly, no voice. Mr. Moore, Dr. Miller, Mr. Many, Dr. Barr, and Mr. Chapman. In this moment, I wish for you to think of your children, grandchildren, nieces, and nephews, and consider if this future generation should be taught to respectfully stand up for what they believe in or go along with whatever is decided by one singular individual. We are asking for a voice so that they may have one too. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Maya.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go to the minutes of the, thanks for the presentation, good job. We'll go to the minutes of the September 12th meeting, regular meeting. First, do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, the minutes of the September 12th meeting. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. September the 12th, the work session. Everybody got a copy of those minutes, had a chance to read them, I'm sure. I have a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
September the 14th, special meeting.
There's a correction on the date. It should be September instead of March.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes with that correction.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve the minutes of September 14th meeting with the correction by Cody. Is there any more discussion about it? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
I
schedule.
abstain, I wasn't there.
Oh, okay, that's fine. one abstention, 2 yeses, or 4 yeses. Scheduled checks to be written and purchases $5,000. Scheduled checks to be written, I think that our treasurer is ill.
But I can answer questions if you have any.
So you're gonna go ahead and do these agenda items?
Yes,
for the
yes, I
treasurer?
can go ahead and answer the questions if you have any on the scheduled checks to be written.
Does anyone have any questions of scheduled checks to be written?
Make a motion to approve the schedule of checks to be written.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the checks to be written. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
And then, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, purchases of $5,000.
Which is the request for Schoolology that we use with our high school. It is a platform to where teachers can manage and share academic content with the students.
Do you have any type of usage rate, like with those? Like-
Oh, it's very high.
Okay.
Extremely
That's
high.
just-
It is a platform that they go on and look if they're absent, if we have to unfortunately go virtual. So yes, it is used a lot. They use it for voting. They use it for different platforms at the high school. Not so much at the elementary, but at the high school, yes.
I make a motion that we clear the check for Schoolology.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the purchase of Power School, was that the company? that-
Yeah, but it's Schoolology, Power School, yes.
Schoolology.
Mhm.
$7,210.50. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, report discussion,
Oh.
recognition of students and staff. Go ahead, Patty.
I don't have any other than we just got information that the golf team is going to be at the state tournament, so good job. I see one of our golfers is sitting here, so that is excellent, so thank you. So, yay.
Mr. Price.
I like giving my presentation from the back, and now you guys put these microphones up here front and center, and it's a whole thing. I'm not nervous at all.
Come on down to the price.
Right.
That's right, that's right. First of all, I just wanted to kind of address something that I know throughout the state has been a little bit of a negative topic, and that is the transition into the new WEVAS program. That's not something that I ever see, but it's something that we've been working with very closely. And I just want to give some praise where praise is due. I think sometimes you look what you find for, or you find what you look for, and one of the things that I've seen is a lot of teamwork on this thing at the building level, at the district level, to try to get us through this and over this hump. Our teachers, our secretaries, the central office staff, some of our itinerant folks, such as the technology integration specialists, we've been working on this thing as much as absolutely possible. I think we finally made some progress here. We're going to try a trial run tomorrow with putting in attendance in live grades. But again, this has been an absolutely enormous task to transition to a new system like this. You'll not hear the best about it, but I can tell you, at least with the folks at Gilmer County Elementary School and the folks that we're working with here at the district office, they've been very supportive, and I think we're making some progress. So I just wanted to put a positive note to something that you're probably not going to hear a lot of positive about. The next thing to discuss is regarding the Balance Scorecard, the accountability system that's in place there. I know there was some discussion about that in the board's goal setting session, and we had Ms. Lowther had shared that information with you as well. And just to give you guys a few points to note that Gilmer County are moving in different directions to try and meet those needs. We fully recognize that we've got some progress to make academically, especially in math and in reading. So we've taken a really hard look at our approach to those things this year, and we've made some big changes. If you keep doing what you've always done, you're always going to get what you always got. So we've really made a big difference there. You've heard me discuss departmentalization this year. That is a move that we've made starting at the beginning of this school year, and I'm full of little sayings, so I hope I don't say too many. But if you don't focus on anything, or if you focus on everything, you'll get nothing done. And so really what we've done this year is try to give everybody a little bit of more focus, maybe a little bit less to do to get more done, if that makes any sense. So this year we have teachers in grades 2nd through 5th that are focusing on a department. So we have teachers that are designated and dedicated to just teaching math at Gilmer County Elementary School. That's allowing them to go deeper into their standards, to have more time in planning just for that subject, because keep in mind, last year, a 5th grade teacher was teaching English language arts, math, science, social studies, health, writing, all of that stuff in one day every single day. Now, Mrs. Frazier just teaches math. Now we have, Mrs. Shiflett, who's just teaching the English language arts, and then Mr. Self, who's doing science and social studies and writing. So everybody has skin in the game as far as the accountability system is concerned, even for grades that don't assess in science, which at Gilmer Elementary, it's only 5th grade. But those 2nd through 5th grade teachers are teaching writing, and our 2nd grade teachers are teaching phonics. So everybody has a piece of that core subject and a piece of that accountability model in academics. But really this year it's been a huge focus on focus. You like that? Focus on focus? I like that too. We're also focusing on bubble students, students that might be just below benchmark in a certain demographic. So we're talking about students typically in that 40th to 50th percentile, very close to being at benchmark, but they maybe need just a little bit more. We're having Mrs. Roberts, especially in the area of math, work with some math interventions, looking at the data, looking at the STAR data that we have in classroom reports to try to focus on those students, because we have found, and we made some improvement last year in math, that was a pretty good return on investment. So she's the interventionist. If you have any questions about what she does, it's really focusing on that group, that population of student, trying to get them over the hump at benchmark in math. We're also really focusing on what are called the interim module assessments, something that is created by the State Department. It's very similar to what our general summative assessment at the end of the year is. Now, you may hear people say, well, we don't teach to the test, and that's correct. We don't teach to the test, but we do need to teach to the level at which our students are assessed on the standards at which they are assessed. And there is no better predictor, no better tool, in my opinion, to use than those questions that the State Department develops. They are very similarly written as the GSA by the same people that write those GSA questions. So it's really a sometimes underutilized tool that we've really focused on, or are focusing on this year. So I think those things in mind, you hear the word focus over and over and over again, and that's really been the goal. Sometimes we're the worst, especially principals. I'll admit I've done it before. We just pile on more sometimes, and we don't check ourselves. We put too much on people's plates. They're not going to get as much done. So we've really re-examined the year, and I fully anticipate great improvements at Gilmer County Elementary School academically this year. Give us a little bit of time. I know that you guys have realized that it takes a while to make some of those improvements, but
So the testing in between the benchmark, that occurs at the beginning of the year, and then when?
So are you speaking to the benchmark assessments?
No, I think, is it STAR?
Yes.
Yeah, that would be the benchmark assessment. So we're
Okay,
saying the
so-
same thing, yeah.
Okay, so that only happens how often?
That happens 3 times in a school year. It happens
3 times in
beginning,
a school year.
yes ma'am,
Okay.
beginning, middle, and end of year.
And do you have those results after they occur?
Yes.
So that you can let us know what's happening?
Sure, and Miss Mason does that pretty often after those benchmarks. She'll bring you in basically a breakdown of that, and she tracks that all year long. I thought she might be here, but she's not here. No, she does
It's like
that.
medicine, they can't just use one term, they have to have
Yeah,
3 or 4.
exactly.
So-
And what we do after we give those benchmarks is we regroup in a lot of ways. So Mrs. Roberts, as she has those math intervention groups, she may realize, hey, I got Tyson over the hump. I think we're good. I'm going to focus on these students now. So we regroup with that. We do the same thing with our Title I services, and classroom teachers the same thing with the groups that they have in their classroom.
So sometime, like February, we should be seeing how we've done in this first half of the year?
Yeah, so February you should have 2 points of data, 2 points in time,
Yeah,
beginning of year
beginning
benchmark.
and-
Mhm.
Okay.
And then that last benchmark, I want to say, and I'll say it wrong, is March-ish.
March, April, yeah.
Yeah.
But now, is that the one we don't get till August?
No, that's the West Virginia General Summary Assessment. We get these results as soon as the children take the
Okay,
test.
so summative assessment and then
Yeah.
benchmark star.
Yeah, the benchmark is really for our purposes. It's for teaching and learning purposes, so we can have some good indicators on how we're going to do on the general summative, and to make decisions about instruction. So what a student needs, and then where we can accelerate other students.
I was
The general
confusing
summative,
the
yeah, it's easy to do, but the general summative, that's when you look at the accountability model and the achievement. That's what we.
That's what the state basically.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
You guys have any questions for me?
I had a question with the departmentalization. Have you done any research as to nationwide or statewide, the schools that are high-performing, blue ribbon schools, high-performing schools, the elementary level, are they departmentalized or are they self-contained, or is there a difference, or is there?
We've done quite a bit of research on departmentalization as a whole. I've been familiar with this for several years as a principal, and it's a very common practice. However, I don't want to shoot off the cuff and say that I've contacted any blue ribbon schools and asked if they were departmentalized, because I have not done that. But it is a research backed strategy.
I know, and it's all new for our
Yeah.
students, our parents,
Yeah.
and our teachers, and everybody. I realize that. But I wonder, I just recently heard that Ritchie County, for an example,
Mhm.
Yeah.
aced their schools
They
at
did.
elementary level. So-
Number one school in the state. Yeah,
So, are they departmentalized or are they self-contained?
it's a good question.
Part of both. I would be looking at that, because that's how I would want my school to perform, how that school performs.
Mhm.
And I just don't know. This is a new concept for me in education. I know about departmentalization. I've known about it since I was a principal years ago. We ran departmentalized kind of a middle school and a grade school, which was self-contained together.
Mhm.
So I would be curious if there was any research out there, and I'll try to do some myself to see if these schools that are performing at a high level, whether
Yeah.
they're departmentalized. Now, if we're a blue ribbon school next year, I'll departmentalization.
Well,
way to go.
and I do think it was, and sometimes you just have to take a risk and make
Yeah,
a move, and we.
I think you and your staff are trying to make the best decision for your students. And I think that's great, and we'd go along with that, and let's just see how it plays out.
Yeah.
But I think looking at other schools and systems and why they're performing where they are is important.
I agree.
Was it not Richie's superintendent that was just named?
SBA
Yeah.
director, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe we can
And
get
I-
some
he-
information from him.
Yeah, he was. I've met him several times and worked with him when I was the curriculum director in Calhoun, so I wouldn't hesitate to reach out to him. Thank you,
Okay,
guys.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The first thing I'd like to check off our list is that our LSIC has requested to be in conjunction with the Board of Education on the November 14th meeting. So in order for that to be something that is scheduled, you probably want that for action if the board so moves in a upcoming board meeting. Obviously not on this one because it's not on the agenda for tonight.
And that's the one that will happen at the high school, is that
Yes.
what we're doing?
Yes.
It'd be wonderful if you'd like to come to the high school and we could host you. That would be nice, to have board meetings in the schools once in a while. We'd be glad to do that. They didn't know if you would want that, and I'm sure Veda Woodford would be reaching out, Mr. Minnie, to you as president of the board. If you wanted to do that at a 4 o'clock time, or if you wanted to do it right at 5 o'clock and have a longer board meeting, but they didn't know if you'd want to start their meeting first, or is it the same meeting, or is it 2 meetings back to back? They didn't really know how. I've seen it both ways. I've seen it be in conjunction and be actually the same board meeting. but they asked that question. We've been starting we started this last LSIC meeting at 4:30. But
I don't know how the rest of the board feels. It doesn't matter to me because I'm not employed at the present time, so it could be any time suits me, but some of these people are working. I don't know if they can make 4 o'clock or not, but
I'll be fine for that.
I would say whatever's the best for your faculty, staff, then I would try to make that. We'll do the best we can. And I personally, and this is not speaking for the board, I would be glad to have that meeting on the 14th, and I would like to schedule another one in the spring at the high school as well, and at Gilmer Elementary. We could have one LSIC meeting and then one regular board meeting, and that gives everybody a chance to come out and meet the board. It's no bigger problem for us to meet there than here, I wouldn't think.
we could set up in the Commons, and
Yeah.
we can still have a display board. We can accommodate.
Yeah.
As part of our local school improvement council meeting, we have this is one of our handouts, and I thought it might be beneficial to the board. Maybe you've seen this. This is provided by the Department of Education. Kind of gives some overviews about when you hear LSIC, what is it, what do they do, and might just answer some questions. But to have meetings in conjunction with the Board of Education is something we're supposed to be doing. And how that meeting works is they will present, and they'll have their regular meeting and their regular agenda, but you can also ask them of the LSIC if you'd like them to present on a certain topic or you'd like to know something about the school. You can recommend topics that they would present during their LSIC meeting as well. So the board has opportunity to ask them for what part of that agenda looks like. Mr. Price mentioned the Balance Scorecard, and I'm sure we'll talk about this more. This is just a real quick fine print overview of those scores. Uses top points, not really scores, but ranges, you might say. Red is areas of greatest need for improvement, and we have lots of colors on here. We do have some blues, we do have some green, but we do have some reds to take a look at. I'll be speaking a little bit this evening about mathematics and what our school leadership team and local school improvement council, what we've discussed about options for improving mathematics. Before we get there though, just a couple areas I'd like not to make any excuse for it all, but I would like just to mention that we do not have an English language learner population presently at Gilmer County High School, so that one probably is not something we can improve on, but it's not something that we will look at later on as a deficiency either. Attendance has been difficult. We had a grad 2020 program where we actually were able to give gift cards and things before I was principal. We had a program that was helped by the state, and we had monies and funds to do some activities. That went away. We still do some initiatives with Ms. Stonecker and with Mr. Payne to try to improve attendance. We're going to be giving some ice cream out here coming up soon as after the first month attendance, and trying to recognize attendance as we would an honor roll student or such. So that's coming up. But attendance is not really bad. We're not meeting the standard right now, but looking at what Daniel Reed presented to me on last year's attendance, it wasn't as bad as what it might seem, even with COVID. The one thing I would like to point out is that there seems to be a disconnect between, if you look at student success where it says on track to graduation, and then you have 4- and 5-year graduation rates. So how can one of those areas or both of those 4- and 5-year graduation rates meet standards, but you're not on track to graduate? And that seems like a disconnect when you look at the data. We take this data check at about 10th grade for academic progress, and look at how students are doing to see if we believe that they're going to graduate on time with their peers in the cohort in which they reside. And we have found that we've got students behind, particularly in the 9th grade year that are now sophomores, which is also our highest discipline rate and our lowest, I would say, our greatest difficulties in academic performance as well is in that group. And right now, they're not on a very good track in some ways. However, there's things that we have at our in our arsenal to help them graduate, things like option pathway, things like ALC at the Career Center, career technical education pathways, credit recovery that we use in the summer, the Odyssey program that we have, virtual school opportunities as well. So we put all these things together and we take a look at a kid and we say, you know, in order to graduate with your cohort on time, we need to take this virtual course, or we need to do this course in Mrs. Barker's Media STEM Lab in Odyssey. If we can't get it rescheduled, we need to take this class again because we didn't pass it in our freshman year. And we go through, our student assistance team goes through those one by one for high school, and we chart out a pathway of how they can graduate, if not in 4 years, then at least in the 5-year cohort. And we've had success. Our summer school, we've greatly, and I know Mr. Price has too, we've greatly expanded what we're doing in summer school. But at the high school level, to recover courses and keep kids on a pathway for graduation, we've had some great successes there. So that's why the numbers are blue for 4- and 5-year graduation, but back there it's red for being on a path to graduation. There's a lot of work. Another thing that's beneficial is we have an 8-period day. And when you have an 8-period day, that means each year you have, over the course of 3 years, an opportunity for 24 credits towards graduation, which means in 3 years you should basically be able to cover most of what you need to graduate, although you need to have English and math each year, and we'd like for those that are going to college to have 4 sciences and 4 social studies and such. But that too helps us a lot to be able to catch up in that junior and senior year by only needing 24 credits, but we have 8 periods, where if we were a 6- or 7-period day, it'd be more difficult. Specifically to math, I'd like to share with you just certain pages of our strategic plan that we worked on in the spring with our school leadership team. And this is a strategic plan digest, you might say, not the whole book. Upwards of about 90 pages that's found in our strategic plan. So the activities are very much spelled out in greater detail in the actual school strategic plan. I had hoped that perhaps the board, when they were setting their own goals, maybe would look at the strategic plans of the school. Perhaps you did, to see what the schools are doing in order to meet academic progress. So a couple things I'd like to highlight. On the first page, underneath, down at the bottom where it says support for benchmark assessments, and we were talking about math teachers reviewing formative assessment data like STAR data. We also take IXL data. We're also looking at growth through the Khan Academy. Teachers are setting their goals for their professional goals based upon pre and post tests from benchmarks. A lot of the teachers do that. And Dr. Barr's wife, Kelly, actually leads the M3T collaborative, which is a collaborative in our state to help improve mathematics in middle school by incorporating hands-on problem-solving, higher-order thinking math activities. And that's growing in our school. We've added a couple members from last year in that area. Just to turn the page, I'm going to flip through a couple of these. Provide additional support for math is on page 2 of 13. We're doing that in a lot of ways. In our SAT meetings, in our SAT committee meetings, we've added communities in schools as part of all of our SAT meetings. A counselor, a teacher, an administrator, students and parents, and we have a new SAT coordinator as well. And we've been looking at using after-school math tutoring, as well as tutoring during lunchtime to help support mathematics and give more time for kids that need a Tier 3 intervention, a more direct one-on-one intervention. Turning to page 3, we have just a couple things I'd like to mention. Is we're focusing on STAR, IXL, and also the Khan Academy to help us look at math improvement. Students are able to go in and be able to see standards-based assessments in IXL that actually looks at the West Virginia standards and that rigor, and they're able to take aligned assessments and practices and curriculum that's in IXL that's directly aligned to the state standards. We're finding that that's been very beneficial, and we're hoping to have some growth from that. Moving quickly. On page 4, so you see the Ixl Weekly Practices. We were doing those almost like when we were doing benchmark, which is 3 or 4 times a year. Now we're looking at using Ixl on a weekly basis. And you can see our attendance, and what we want to do with attendance is on that page. Discipline is also important. We have developed a discipline matrix. We have found that by having our new ALC set up, we're able to keep kids in school more often. We're able to get more work from them. It also helps our attendance because when you suspend a kid out of school, that is a school made absence. They are excused. Even though they're suspended out of school suspension, they are excused because the school suspended them, even if it's their fault. But ISS, in-school suspension, keeps the kids there, and we're able to get more work out of students, and it doesn't count as an attendance hit as well. On page 5, you'll see that with Mrs. McHenry's position, when we hired Avon McHenry in middle school math, we did not continue to have her teach health. Okay, so that added a half math position to our school. So we're able to do enrichment and remediation math, and we were able to keep, we were going to move Mrs. Barr to not be able to teach her computer class in order to do remediation math. We were able to keep the computer-based mathematics course that she teaches kind of as a middle school, not as an elective, they all take it, but they all love it, it seems like. And we were able to retain that and still add on another 9 weeks of math that students receive. Used to be students would get 90 minutes of math and 90 minutes of English language arts, reading and writing, but that got cut in half for mathematics, and we're seeing the effects of that. We also added in algebra, geometry, and algebra 2 labs. So what that means are for the bubble kids that Mr. Price was speaking of for the high school level, it's not kids that have an IEP, but it's kids that are the lowest achieving, that are on the bubble of performing higher. They're able to have Algebra 1, let's say to Mrs. Dooley, and then see Mrs. Dooley at another time in the day where she's able to review homework with the same kids and be able to have another class period, a whole nother 45 minutes that's devoted for lab. So our kids of greatest need, we've doubled the amount of math that they have in their day for Algebra 1, and we added this year for Algebra 2. We did not have that before, and for geometry. So all 3 of those required math courses that are sequential, we're able to add another 45 minutes in the schedule for kids that have the greatest math need. And we're hopeful that that'll make great gains for us. We think that right there alone might glean us a lot of gain. We have a certified math teacher that's in the 6th grade, and we are also departmentalized, and we departmentalized last year, and we found that we had a certified math teacher, so we use her to teach the math in 6th grade. Plus, we've added a special education teacher in 6th grade to help with kids that have IEPs that came from the 5th grade up this year, and we're able to add another staff member to the 6th grade cohort, which will be really important for that group. PBIS deals with our positive behavior intervention system that we have in middle school. We have added a college credit, I'll mention this, for mathematics at the higher level. We're looking at having trigonometry be an honors course to try to encourage our highest math achievers to take trig, and that course be weighted, okay? We also added another college level credit, another 3 hours of college credit. So if you take college algebra, it used to be that you got 3 hours credit for the whole year. Now you get 6 hours credit. There's actually 2 courses that are embedded in our high school college algebra course. Almost done. We see on page 7 that we've added 9 more weeks of math enrichment and remediation. Also on the bottom of page 7, we've developed an accelerated group to have an Algebra 1 group in 8th grade. What we're hoping there is by bumping kids a year ahead, that by the time that they're juniors and seniors, they will be able to take our college algebra that's offered in our schools as junior, but they'll also be able to take courses at Glenville State University that are actual college courses, perhaps on campus. So that's our goal with our Algebra 1 group.
Mr. Putman, is Brandon Payne in charge of that?
No. So when we hired a new assistant principal, our approved strategic plan from the spring still reflects Mr. Payne being responsible for several things in our strategic plan.
So where he's in there, who do we substitute?
That'll probably be John Putnam for the most part, and Nathan Haynes as well, for areas that he's not familiar with. I'll take those on myself. We're working on standards deep dive, so Shelley Mason is working with Sherry West and Tracy DeWall. Tracy was in our building today and went over assessment data and looked at the grouping and the data that, what we're learning from GSA data. We're also bringing in a person from PSAT, because we added the 2 tests. If you remember last year, we added a 9th grade summative assessment. We also added in a 10th grade summative assessment, so now there's no gap. All the way from 6th grade to 11th grade, we have summative testing every year. Because we have done that, we also have the opportunity to learn from that data and align it to lessons through Khan Academy. So kids can see what they've missed on the PSAT, for example, and be able to catch up using Khan Academy lessons. They can log into their PSAT data and go directly to the Khan Academy. The development of pacing guides is also part of that, part that the standards deep dive's involved with. So improving lesson planning and pacing guides. Okay, let me just hit the high points, 'cause I know I'm getting lengthy. When we start on page 9, we do focus on ELA. Our ELA's not knocked it out of the park. If you look at the sheet, it's not green. It is yellow for us, which means we're not at the top. One of the major things is just a couple points we'll make about ELA is that we are really trying to hit Kansas writing strategies as our primary intervention, or primary research-based instructional strategy, I should say, and have all of our teachers that do writing understand how to use those strategies. It was kind of hit and miss, so it's not really strategic if you just have 2 people doing it, out of the sequential part of 6 teachers in a row. So we're getting extra training on that. That's coming very soon, next week, I think. And then, actually the 29th, I think is the first one, so that's this week. And also we have some literacy coaching that also is taking place, and that is through Sherry West, who comes over. She's our literacy coach and intervention teacher to work directly in model lessons with teachers. So I'll stop there. That's what we're trying to do strategically to try to make improvements on the color graph that I provided to you. We have what's called a school leadership team. We have PLCs, which is professional learning communities, which are subsets of that school leadership team. We have local school improvement council, and of course we have the goals of the boards of education and our central office staff that helps guide and support our work. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, John.
Okay, you can time me if Shelley's not here.
I'm going to back this up a little bit. Lisa told me our outside audience, I guess maybe I blew them out a little bit last week. So I apologize to anybody out there that I did that to.
Are you sure it wasn't just your blazing good looks?
Well, I asked them to turn me down over there or something. Surely in all that, they can turn me down. But anyways, I apologize to anybody that it's too loud. First of all, I do want to congratulate the golf team. This is back-to-back trips.
Awesome.
When Coach Wolf called me today, he called me, or he texted me 4 holes to go, and I'm like, hey, wait. And then he calls me about, 20, 30 minutes later and lets me know he was fired up. So it's a great accomplishment for the team, for those athletes. And again, being there back-to-back, I'm hoping the experience last year pays off when we go this year. For those young student athletes that were able to participate in that last year. So that's big. Now I'll go with the facilities update. The secure entry at Gilmer County High School. Last time I was before the board, we did not have the glass, or the glass was cut the wrong size in actually the vestibule, the secure entry. We did get that glass installed. Unfortunately, one piece does have a crack in it. So we did take pictures. We did send that to them. So if you hear anything about a crack in glass, there is a crack in glass.
Are they eating the cost on that?
Yeah, anything like that, yeah. Yes, definitely. So they know that's an issue. The canopy did come in. Unfortunately, we're having a few issues with the canopy. We are not having them. The contractor was concerned about the way it was drawn up, or the way it was planned to attach that canopy to the building. And they expressed those concerns to our architects, which they did a site visit. They looked at it. They did say the contractor's concerns are valid. So we are waiting on an engineer to come in and look at that. We don't want to attach something to the roof of our building that causes us more trouble. And that was the contractor's concern. So we're just figuring that out. It is on site. It is in the shop area. But once we get some answers on that, what we can do, what we can't do from an engineer that that approves whatever the plan will be, we will soon have that canopy in place. So that's what's going on with it. The Pebble Flex at the front entry that I spoke about last meeting, I have a little bit of information on it. That is a one-day install. When they come to do that, they will install it in one day. But when they install that, we need to be off of it for 48 to 72 hours. So once they get closer and they're ready to schedule, I'll work with the high school administration. We'll look at our school calendar. We'll see if we can make do, or however many. We'll do it the least amount of school days that would be affected by this 48 to 72 hour wait once that Pebble Flex is down. We are still looking at options on that command center window that I spoke to you about. Not only in the event of an emergency or something going on at the school, but there are a lot of meetings that the administration, that teachers, that whoever would have in that room, and the cameras, the monitors. There are a lot of reasons we don't want visibility in that room. As you walk by now, you can see a dark tent, but you can see in. So we've looked at 3 options. We have 2 more options that will be presented to us on Thursday. So we have not came to that conclusion yet of which way we want to go with that. And when I say we, the superintendent's been very involved, Mr. Putman's been very involved, and Clay's been very involved from our standpoint, and we've worked with the contractor and worked with the architects on that. So by Thursday afternoon, we'll have 5 different options for what to do with that window, and then we'll go from there. So that still is there. There are punch list items still out there, not a lot. We are really narrowing this thing down and about to be completed, but there are still some punch list items that we're working on. They do not have substantial completion yet, and that's big. When you're doing a project like this, substantial completion is big. That's basically saying that the contractor has completed basically 100% of the scope of the work, and then they'll be paid 95% of the contract. We always hold back a 5% retainage fee until everything's closed out, till we have all closing documents and everything's closed out. So obviously, a contractor, they want substantial completion. They want to be awarded substantial completion, because then at that point, they're gonna be, awarded 95% of their pay. But we have not awarded that yet. The architects haven't awarded that. We don't anticipate that being awarded until that canopy is installed. That's a big part of the project, and until it's installed, I don't think that'll happen. So just to give the board a little bit of details about that. Any questions about the secure entry? I did call the secretaries, the ladies out front, not to get out of my lane or anything, but they see the how the doors open every day. They're the ones punching the buttons 500 times a day, letting people in and out, and they have told me everything is functioning the way it should be functioning at this time. There's not any trouble with, how things are functioning, how things are working. So they gave me that report today, and I thought that was good news. So when we're buzzing people in, the doors are unlocking, we're letting people in, and so that was good news. Any questions at all about the secure entry?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did talk with ESG a couple times since the last board meeting, and just being dead honest and very transparent. It's not good news. They've pushed those units back to November now. So those units we've been waiting on are back to November. ESG is telling me, they're not happy with this news either. And they are telling me they are doing everything they can to push the contractor, but to be honest with you, it's really not the contractor's fault either. They're waiting on material. And unfortunately, I think it's the world we live in right now with certain things that you're just waiting on material. So that's where we are. Really no movement. In fact, if there's any movement the wrong way. We're waiting longer. As I've told the board and reported to the board, once we do have that, ESG will coordinate with W.R. Drake, that's the contractor, and we will coordinate with the high school administration, and we will try to put those units on the building, disrupting school the absolute minimal amount. They know if it's during the hot weather, we can't be without air very long. They know if it's during the winter and cold weather, we can't be without heat. They understand that, they know that, so it'll be up to us to coordinate a schedule with them that disrupts school very minimally, if at all, but the least amount of disruption to the school process, the school day. So that's where we're at with ESG, HVAC. Any questions on that?
Joey, there wouldn't be any chance of them asking for a change order to increase the price of that, would there?
Well, I don't think it should be. That's a great point, Mr. Minnie, I think. No, not in just my opinion. I wouldn't think so. We settled in and we agreed on this price. So at that point, I think that's the price it's got to be, in my opinion. And I'd like to think that with the superintendent and the treasurer, we would fight that all the way if there ever were a change order brought to us about any pricing differences. Because it's not our fault either. I mean, we are begging. We are calling weekly. We are begging, let's move. But that's a good point, and we will, if anything like that does arise, obviously we bring that to the board's attention and let you know. The animal processing classroom, we finally, when I say finally, this is nobody's fault either, really. There were 3 really important people, not that they're more important than any of the rest of us, that I really wanted to be a part of this last meeting. And I shouldn't say last meeting, but this last big meeting before we get approval. And that's Mr. Cox. I've said all along, he's our in-house expert on this, and we needed him to be available in this meeting. It's the USDA meat inspector. We want his okay on our plan. We want to walk him through every part of this, from when you walk in and you're putting on the coat and you're putting on the boots to where you're going around the room, or the back end where we're bringing in the carcass. So we want his approval, and then our local health inspector. So we do have a meeting scheduled, and it's this Thursday, the 29th. And it'll be our first time with those 3 key individuals in the room. I'll still be there, but I'm not a key individual in this. The superintendent will be there. Clay will be there. Mr. Putman's going to do his best to attend. I know he's got a prior commitment that he can't get out of. It's nothing that he can get out of. So we'll keep him updated, and we'll give him an opportunity to bring out anything he wants to bring. And hopefully he's back by the time of this meeting. So that's that big meeting that I've talked to a couple board meetings now, that we need to have this final meeting. Then plans would be finalized, plans sent off for approval, and then finally get to the advertising and bidding process of this animal processing classroom. So that's this Thursday that we will be meeting on that. Any questions on that? Okay. The drainage issue out back, we're still at the same place. It kind of ties into the animal processing classroom, that we need to make sure from those steps to go up to the student parking lot out back over towards the greenhouse side, we need to make sure we don't have any issues back there. We've been working with SLS on this. They did give us a ballpark figure. I'd like not to say that figure for the integrity of the bid. I don't want people to say, well, they can at least do this much, let's bid this much. We did feel, and we again would be the superintendent, Clay and myself, mainly Clay saying, can we do it, can we not do it? He's the money guy. He's looking at our finances. But the ballpark figure that they estimate that this to be, we do think we can do, or we can do. Hopefully, we hope that the bid comes in lower, lower than what they've projected, and we won't know that final cost until we do bid this out. But we need one more price from them. We need to know from SLS what are you charging us for the fee to help us through this process. So that's just the number we need. I think they're ready to go on their part. Once we get that number, I think we can get that moving, because obviously that needs to happen very soon if the animal processing classroom is going to begin very soon. So we're close on both. That's the drainage issue out back. Any questions? Last thing, the storage building at Gilmer County Elementary. I like to just grab these guys. When you get these guys in the county, I don't like to let them leave till we check every box. So while these guys are here on Thursday, we will be meeting with Mr. Price, Mr. Fox, and we will be discussing the storage building out there. We are very close to finalizing those documents, and we should have in our hands Thursday the final for us to look at, for us to approve. That weeds a little bit different. Still the superintendent, still Clay very involved, and myself in the board office. But obviously, since that's out at the elementary school, we've got Mr. Price involved and we've got Mr. Fox involved with that. So we should have a document Thursday for us to look at and say, yes, that's what we want. We approve. This is what we want. That same document should be sent to the fire marshal, and that's the approval we need with that storage building at the elementary school. We need his approval. Say, yes, you're good with that. No, let's tweak this, whatever it is, and we'll work through that. So very close on it as well. And I've said it every board meeting I probably spoke, all this is happening. It's a lot going on, a lot of good things going on. It's probably all happening slower than what we want, but there is movement. It's just slow movement. And I can assure you we are pushing. It's not a week going by without Tyson or JT calling me, hey man, we need this, let's go. So when they're calling me, then I'm calling the architects, hey, let's go. Same to be true with the projects at the high school. That administration, they're trying to keep them moving. We're trying to keep them moving. It's just slower than what we want. Any questions at all? I'm probably going to leave. We do have a home junior high volleyball game tonight, and I'm going to head up there and go to that.
Thanks, Joey.
Thank you, guys. I had to be shorter than Mr. Putman tonight.
We'll never know because Shelley wasn't here.
Okay, Cody, it looks like you're next.
Alrighty, so the policy committee met on September the 21st. We discussed and went through again the policies on governance, specifically 1010 through 1050. We worked through those. We've got those mostly finished up. The committee recommends tonight that further down the agenda that we had some reviews on policy 1010 and 1040. And then the state has repealed policy 1100. So when the state repealed it, that's the committee's recommendation too, that our county policy 1100 needs to be repealed. The committee is going to continue to work on policies 1020, 1030, and 1050, and hopefully have those ready for the next board meeting to take action on, and then that will finish up everything in governance. Our next meeting will be October the 5th at 4 o'clock here at the central office. And we're going to skip section 2 and go to section 3 on students. That was the committee's recommendation to deal with, some assessment tools now that we have results and stuff, some of those policies that, we'll begin to look over. And then also the committee we're coming to find out that this process is very long and tedious, and some of these policies really need legal review and some of the changes and stuff that you make to them. So we have but a lot of other counties use a board docs program, which basically that just allows them to be displayed, but using that software on your website. Searchable, yeah. And it's a very, very reasonable, easy format. But there's a company named Neola that actually can help us write some of those policies and things like that. Mrs. Stonecker has that information, and the committee would, kind of like just, maybe place on a future agenda to have her contact that representative to see what the cost would be to maybe get that company to help us with some of those policies, that we really need attention to look at and, try to fix to, the legal aspects that they need to have in them. So
we need that on the next agenda.
On the next agenda, yeah.
And
And that's all I have in my report, unless there's any questions.
And you said you'd have policies to put on review next meeting?
Hopefully we can get through 10:10, 10:20, 10:30, and 10:50 will be the next three to come out.
Well, thanks, Cody. I
Thank you,
know
Cody.
that's a really
Thanks,
hard
Cody.
job and a tedious, tough situation to do, and I appreciate you doing that work, the committee that's working on that. And it needs done, though, and it needs done regularly. Who do we have next? Me, I guess.
Yeah.
Calhoun Career Center, not too much to report. I was at a meeting last week. Couple of things that Mr. Stearns is trying to do is he was offering classes for all the young kids in Calhoun and Gilmer that haven't got their hunting license and their safety courses to try to get that so that they can attend those, which is a very important thing. But just a little statistics. I don't think that any hunting accident that's resulted in a death in West Virginia has ever happened from somebody who's had a hunter safety course. Most of them are older people. And that speaks a lot for that course and says a lot for it. So the other thing that would affect us is the after-school alternative learning teachers. And they've employed 2, and those are Mrs. McCormick and Mrs. Ferris will be the 2 alternative teachers. So that's all I have for the Career Center. I've noticed the arrival of Miss Sherry West, so just right on cue.
Thank you, Tom.
Must have been hiding around the corner.
I was asked to serve on the Gilmer Public Library's Board of Trustees, and that email came through last summer, 2021. And so I checked with Shelley, she's my supervisor, and she said that would be fine. So we would meet monthly as the Board of Trustees, began September, October. That has now changed, and it's going to be a quarterly meeting. So it's typically on Thursdays about 1 o'clock that I go to the public library and we meet as the Board of Trustees. This past January, February 2022, every so often they have to clean off their bookshelves. And so Lisa Minnie, the director, called, emailed and said, Sherry, could you use these books somewhere? And I said, absolutely, we can use them in after school. They're nice hardback books, and it was all nonfiction, and a lot of children request nonfiction. We tend to give a lot of fiction, but they like to read real stuff about real places and real people. And so that helped to meet a need for the after-school program, and it was a donation of about 50 books. And so the after-school kids made a giant thank you card, and we sent that to the library. Then this summer, they cleaned them off again, and after going through, and it's quite the process. When those books come to me, I have to go in and check that they are in our STAR system in the AR Accelerated Reader Program. And if they're not, I return them to the library, and then they take them out and put them in all of the mini libraries in the county. So we checked this summer, and from the books they gave, 106 books were in the AR system, and so I coded those and put them on the cart. And so 44 of our summer school students were able to use those books as well. Monica is the children's coordinator at the library. She came to our summer boost program this summer and spoke to all of our students at Campfire. And she brought us this binder, which includes all of the programming they now offer at the public library. She and I went through this, and we picked out all the things that relate to our children, and we made a packet, and we sent them home with all of our summer school students. And from that, the summer program that they were offering was during the month of July. It was only on Thursdays, and 4 of our summer kids went to that. So after they would meet on Thursdays, Friday morning at Campfire, I would ask them to share what they had learned or participated in at the public library. And there was always a craft, and there was a couple who would bring them and kind of show off what they had made at the library. Then we went July 8th to the public library, and Beverly gave us a tour of the facility, and the children got to spin the wheel for a prize. We had a total of 41 students and 8 adults who attended that. We received 54 of our students received library card applications this summer, and 11 of those came back directly to me, and I went, and Beverly and I brought them back to the kids, and we gave those to them this summer at the summer program. So that was a joy to give kids a library card. That was great. So this fall, we haven't met yet as the trustees. Like I said, we'll meet in October on the 6th. They did vote last year before the budget year changed. The library decided to give us $2,000 worth of books to use in our classrooms, in our school. So I went through again and checked. There's a particular site they use. So I pulled up that site, and then I pulled up the accelerated reader, and then I went according to the book levels that our children are reading on. They're learning about their reading number line, growing those reading muscles. And so I went according to the areas of need where we really needed some more books. And so it was quite the process. But we were able to spend a good $2,000 worth on books, and those are sitting in my large closet. I lovingly call my space in there. And so those will be coded, and then we will place them on the GURP carts to use with our after-school kids. But I will say several of the books are really nice chapter books. And with after-school programming, the goal is for them to read 2 books a week. That's how you really build your reading ability. And if you're reading a chapter book, that's not going to happen in get to it. So those books I will give to teachers, and they will put them in their classroom libraries. So that's where some funding from the public libraries coming back into the classrooms at the elementary. I would like to build some more bridges between our public library and our middle school, high school, and we've had some conversations. I think physically where that building sits, where the library sits, I think there may be some middle school kids who maybe need to go and visit the library. Maybe they've never really been in that facility. So we're working on that and hope to take some ideas to the October trustees meeting.
Very good.
Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any idea how many people a day attend the library?
I can find that out. Of course, now with less COVID restrictions, there has certainly been a lot more coming to the library. And again, the programming, they have crafts, they have a writers group that meets, there's someone on library staff who has a research degree. And I would love to partner our students when we do social studies science fair to find a couple of Saturdays and say, hey kids, come to the library, Ms. West will be there, and we will help you and support you in your research for your fair projects. There's a tea party Tuesday.
Yeah, I remember that.
There's a book club. They do have this amazing button called the 30-second dance party. So when you go in, you can click that and all the people in the library dance for 30 seconds. There's the spin and win, which the kids love. There's embroidery classes, an altered books class, just lots and lots. And then story time for the children is on the 4th Saturday of every month. So.
I really appreciate all the things you do in reading. I think that you show me a student that reads 2 books a week in elementary school, and I'll show you a successful student.
Yeah.
And I mean, in all areas. So the job that you do is extremely important, and I appreciate that.
Yes, it
We have a
is.
great team in Gilmer.
Right.
We do. We have a great team.
And I depend on you to make sure that we're getting the right books out there.
We're working on it, sir. Thank you.
Okay, we're into new business now.
I know earlier I asked about tabling the library funding proposal, but Clay has sent me an email. We currently do $6,000, but he said that we could go up as high as $8,500 to help benefit the public library. So I wanted to share that with you so you could make a decision if you want to maintain the 6 or if you want to increase to the $8,500.
Has the library made a request for this?
They make a request every year for funding, yes.
They didn't request how much?
No,
money?
they did not request how much, no, sir.
But we just have been giving them 6,000. I know last year we gave them
6,000, but Clay said in the budget this year, it could go as high as 8,500 if that is the board's wishes. I know I spoke with Ms. West about utilities, and they're 8,000, so.
That's what that funding is used for.
Yes.
Just the utilities.
Just utilities. So,
Okay, Ms. West, I would like to hear what you have to say about this. Do you think the funding is needed at the library? You're more familiar with what goes on there than any of us, I'm sure.
Well, during the COVID time period, of course, utilities were down. And so the 6,000 was very helpful. But again, with an increase of traffic, there is also an increase in our utilities. And of course, everyone's experiencing that. So I know that the increase would help with the library.
The number of
It's just simply
people,
used for the
yeah.
utilities. It's not used for the programming. It's just used for the phone, the water, electric, internet.
Okay, you say 8,500, was that the amount?
that's, Clay said it could increase to 8,500, yes.
Do I have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion to increase the library funding to 8,500.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? All, motion carries.
I sustain.
Abstain?
I'll abstain as well.
Two abstain.
Abstain.
So it's 3-2, Lisa. Okay.
What was that? MOU?
MOU, which is the Memorandum of Understanding with the West Virginia Family Nutrition Program. Again, that's something that Ms. West works very closely with. And it's an agreement that we have with them, and I believe Ms. West has information as well as what they're working on in the classrooms, correct?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
So, we have two agents that we're familiar with, Jamie and Daisy. And they both have been active in our classrooms for several years. I have a plan I can show you, where Daisy goes into all of our elementary classrooms, and then Jamie also, Daisy focuses on agriculture, while Jamie focuses on citizenship, civic responsibilities, those types of lessons. Mindfulness, that's a big thing right now, is mindfulness with children. We are pushing into our middle school. 6th grade has seen Daisy. They're going to be seeing Jamie. And then also, we're hoping to do some financial literacy with some 7th and 8th graders and possibly some high school students. And all of that is through the classroom lesson planning that goes on through the extension office that comes into our classrooms. And that aligns with state standards. Years ago, when we pulled the binder with the curriculum, we asked teachers to look at their state standards and correlate what would best fit their classrooms. So, for example, 3rd grade for several years has done chicken embryology. This MOU is specifically for the nutritionist. This would be a 3rd extension agent that's available to come into our classrooms. Her focus is on nutrition, teaching students nutritional lessons, healthy choices. Her name is Ashley Sanjulian, and the way it's all funded, Daisy and Jamie are funded through one source, Ashley is through a separate source. That's why this MOU would be separate from the other two agents. And this is something that we have to do annually for Ashley to be a part of our classrooms. She did come this summer with Mountaineer Food Bank. She was part of Summer Boost, and she is potentially planning to join us at after school for a family engagement called Nachos and Numeracy in November.
I don't understand, I guess.
It's-
Is there money exchanged?
No,
Are we
it-
funding
Yeah, what are we
this?
doing?
What's the?
No, there's no money involved in it. It's
So
just
this is just
an
an
agreement
agreement.
I can sign that says, yes, they can
Okay.
come into our classrooms and provide these services.
So So I make a motion that we approve the MOU with the Extension Service Family Nutrition Program.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, we approve item B, MOU. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
Do you want to take items C, D, and E as one or separate?
Well, let's do them all at one. C,
Okay.
D, and E, put policy 1010 on review, 1040 on review, and repeal policy 1100. Been
sorry.
moved.
Second.
I didn't want to interrupt, I
But
apologize.
that's okay, I was just gonna say there's minor changes. On 1010, we went from 10 days to 30 days. And then on 1040 was just adding Ms. Stoniker as the contact. So you know what you're voting on for put it on. And then the other one is because the state repealed their policy, which, you know, there's no need to have a policy.
Which one?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we do C, D, and E, two policies, 1010 and 1040 on review and repeal 1100. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, the next item is the board's written response to student parent concern.
I'd like to make a motion that we go into an executive session for personnel.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, we go into executive session, all to discuss personnel. That's according to
6-9A-42.
6-9A-43, yeah, okay. It's been moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried.
Are we staying here?
Yeah, that's-
Yeah, we'll go in here.
Go.
I'm afraid Clay's contagious. So when I'm in close quarters, I put a mask on. What's wrong with Clay? Oh, he's sick. We just happened to spend all Friday together.
And you didn't want to share it with the board members?
No.
I'll entertain a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second, we come out of executive, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the board, the written response to the student parent concern, the superintendent will give that written response to Mike. And we'll go to the next agenda item then, is the old unfinished business.
Mr. Minnie, do you need a motion on that? This is an item agenda.
Okay, we'll have a motion. Anybody, I'll make a motion that we let Mrs. Lowther respond to Maya's letter that she presented to the board.
So moved, or second, I'm sorry, you moved, right? Second.
Been moved and second that the superintendent respond to Maya's letter that she presented to the board. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So the motion carried. Okay, old unfinished business.
There is none.
No old unfinished business. Personnel, attachment. You want to go through the personnel list?
Professional, I have Danae Dobbins, substitute teacher, Gilmer County Schools. Do you want to do them all together?
Yes, please.
Okay. Service, Laura Richards, substitute custodian, Gilmer County Schools. Brittany Fincham, substitute cook, Gilmer County Schools. Brittany Fincham, substitute classroom/transportation aide, Gilmer County Schools. Brittany Fincham, substitute custodian, Gilmer County Schools. Alexis Long, substitute classroom/transportation aide, Gilmer County Schools. Under extracurricular, Scott Dobbins, resignation, elementary basketball coach, fourth and fifth. Lance Woodford, resignation, elementary basketball coach, second and third. And Travis Woodford, resignation, elementary basketball coach, second and third.
Do I have a motion to approve the personnel?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. That's all the personnel. Will go into information, discussion, possible action, information, accountability results. How do you have that?
That was what the principals presented to you this evening. I asked them to be able to discuss with you the areas of concerns. And we do have a admin meeting tomorrow that we will work on it together again.
Okay, do you want to do the financial statement?
The presentation of the FY, Clay I've been emailing back and forth. He has it, working on it right now. He's hoping to get it to, and it's not good news on his test. So I can email you in the morning with more information on that.
Can you have a special meeting?
We
do that?
could, yes.
Okay.
Mhm. I mean, if that's your wish, we can post it for, we have to have 2 days' notice.
Well,
for a
I'd like to
special
have,
meeting.
I'd like to have the document before
Yes, sir.
the meeting to look
Yes,
at
sir.
it.
And I will get with Clay to see where he's at, but, And I will let you know in the morning what he says about the process. I know he was just right there at the edge, and he's not feeling well at all, so.
Okay. Do you have any other information, superintendent's information next?
Just that we're having our admin meeting tomorrow. We are experiencing an uptick in our COVID in the county. Personnel more than students at the moment. So hopefully it will go on a downward slide again, but we are experiencing some uptick right now for personnel.
I really think we're going to have some problems with COVID. I don't know how bad. I don't think it's going to lead to like it was last year at all, but there is an uptick, and you gotta look out for those things. The other thing under board members' comments that I'd like to mention, several things that the Board of Education hasn't been gone right, not been done right, and I think that we as a board are going to try to make the board operate the way it should. Ever since I've been on the board, there never was a local school improvement council meeting in the schools. And we are required to do that. We're required to meet in schools. That's what I talked about last spring and this summer. We should be having these local school improvement councils. We should go to the schools, and we're doing that. And we need to start making sure that we follow the process, aware of the things that need to be done and the way they should be done, and make sure it occurs that way. And it's not easy sometimes to go that route, but we got to try to do what the board should do, and the legal and right thing for the board to do. And I would hope these board members all seem to me like that they want to do what's legal and right, so that's what we're going to try to do. That's my comments. Anybody else have any comments?
I think well, congratulations to the golf team. Are you a golfer? Are you on the golf team? Okay. Believe it or not, when I was in high school, I lettered in golf. Okay. I played all 4 years. I know you look at me and you go, hey, that guy's an athlete. But believe it or not, I was in the band. But at my school, golf was a spring sport. So we started like in February. But you gotta remember, I was at North Myrtle Beach. So a little different there. But one cool thing about playing in North Myrtle Beach is like our home course was the surf club. And you played Myrtle Beach High School, that was at the Dunes. So you got to play like all these world-class golf courses, you know, just because you grew up in Myrtle Beach. But I always thought it was super cool because, I mean, you play an away football game. I mean, a football field they look the same. They're 100 yards, you know. It's cool to be out of town, but they all kind of look the same. But when you play an away game with golf, you may or may not have ever been there before. Yeah. And even if you've been there once or twice, it's still new. You know, so it's so cool. I'm a big golf fan, so congratulations. Also, I thought homecoming was great. I had a great time. I don't know if the students did, but I had a great time. I thought the parade was wonderful. I thought the dance was great. I helped Kelly and a couple of folks with the refreshments up there, and the students seemed to have a good time. I thought the neon motif was really neat, and then the students really dug that. But yeah, I thought homecoming was a good time.
Anyone else? Okay, then I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Been moved and second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.